Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the College Football Podcast from collegepressbox.com. We are brought to you by Cheez-It and Pop-Tarts. As always, my co-host is the one and only, the highly esteemed TJ Troup. TJ is a football historian, a football expert. He's the author of 3 books on the game of football. He's an accomplished football coach, a student of the game, fan of the game, and as we learned last week, he's got some talent in the film industry as well as a consultant on football movies. He's also a weekly contributor to ProFootballJournal.com, and we are grateful he carved out a little bit of time for us to talk about some college football. TJ, welcome back. How you doing? What do you hear? What do you say?
Good afternoon, Jim. I'm sure looking forward to today's podcast, just like the last few weeks. And I think we can entertain the folks out there in America.
Right on. Nothing like it. You got to have fun. It is a game, right?
Yes, sir.
Let's start off with a game last week that had a pretty dramatic ending in Memphis. They were home against the Arkansas Razorbacks in a tight contest, leading 42-41. And the Razorbacks had the ball and were driving down the field and got it inside the 10-yard line before a play occurred that you will walk us through. And it is our award. It is the winner of this week's Cheez-It Crunch Time Play of the Week award from Cheez-It. It's the game-sealing forced fumble against Arkansas. I've got an image here on our screen, but walk us through this play if you would real quick and take us through what you saw and how this all transpired, if you would, TJ.
Be glad to. Mike Washington is a rock-solid running back for the Razorbacks. And, I mean, they're looking to seal the deal in this game. And the linebacker for the Memphis State Tigers, Cruz Law, forces the fumble. And the ball hits the ground, and defensive back Chris Bracey recovers. And then the Tigers, and of course they're at home, they drive down the field, and after being down early in the game, 28-10, they outscore Arkansas 22-3 to win the game 32-31. Obviously, a big victory, and the fans there in Memphis, boy, I bet they sure enjoyed their barbecue downtown after the game.
Yeah, they do. That was a phenomenal win for the Tigers, and congratulations to them on that victory. 32-31, an amazing game, and congrats to the Tigers. As for Arkansas, that's a good springboard to our next game that we're going to look back on, the second of 3 games from last week before we turn a corner and talk about the upcoming week here. And that would have been the link between Arkansas and the game that we previewed last week, Illinois at Indiana, would be what? What would be the link between Arkansas and that game, the Illini going to Bloomington, Indiana against IU?
Brett Bielema was the coach at Arkansas.
That's right.
And now he's at Illinois. And going into the game, and of course, there's folks in America that really believe in the rankings, and they're always fun to look at. And then there's other folks who look at the rankings, and in this case, I'm sure there was at least a mention by Coach Signetti of, we're ranked down here, and this team is ranked in the top 10, so let's get after Illinois. And, of course, I'll have much more to say about Signetti as our conversation goes on. But Mr. Bielema and his boys from Illinois sure got a whipping last Saturday night. No one could have projected such a beatdown as we saw. And just quickly to finish up with Illinois, because there isn't a whole lot of positives to say for them. They opened the game in a 3-4-4 defense. Now, of course, there were many adjustments. They tried different things, but I'm not sure it would have mattered how they lined up. They got outscored badly in the first half. They got outscored badly in the second half. And their defense, though they have a linebacker named Dylan Rosiak, he played okay. But they had a problem in the secondary with an injury, and then their safety, Miles Scott, was disqualified from the game on a, let's just say, some folks would call it controversial. Once upon a time, you could just about mug a player on the field. But in this case, now they're going, well, he led with the helmet and he did this, so they sent him packing. Not that he would have made a difference in the game, but that just made Illinois that much more shorthanded in the secondary. And the young man who tried to replace Miles Scott, he was subjected, I'll use that term, he was subjected to some well-thrown passes by Mendoza that he didn't handle well. And every time you looked, it looked like a pinball as that scoreboard there in Bloomington kept ringing up points for the Hoosiers.
Boy, it did. It was like a pinball machine, and that's well said about the Illini. It's interesting because I'm looking here at the drives by team by both teams, and Indiana had their first drive was 3 plays, 3 and out. They had 3 plays, gained 2 yards, and then after that they had 10 drives, 9 of which they scored a touchdown on, including 7 in a row, starting with their first possession of the second quarter and ending with their first possession of the fourth quarter. And those were not short drives. They were 56 yards, 80 yards, 65 yards, 75 yards, 44 yards, 59 yards, and 67 yards. I mean, wow. Absolutely astounding. 73% of their drives led to points. And the last drive was just because it was the end of the game. And, they were just killing time. So, unbelievable. It's amazing because they had 11 drives, scored on 8, and they had 2 3 and outs. And then the last one was just, ending the game on 7 plays. So, remarkable, and just a total beatdown, like you said, by IU. There's really nothing else to say, I think, about that, unless you want to talk a little bit about Coach Cignetti.
Well, I'm going to tie him into the conversation in a little bit, but
okay.
When I begin watching a game, even though my background has always been considered as a secondary coach and a receiver coach, I always begin the game looking at the alignment of the defense and especially the offensive line. Well, Illinois' offensive line was highly regarded. And at the beginning of the game, the Hoosiers line up in a 3-3-5 defense. And I'm going, okay, they're expecting, a passing game
right.
from Illinois.
Yeah.
Well, nothing. As the game wore on, Indiana aligned in very, very creative alignments. They blitzed. They pressured. And I'm not going to state that Illinois' offensive line is bad, but I know this. When they were graded out for their performance last Saturday night, it was, oops, it's back to school for them.
Mm. Yeah.
As when you look at the sacks overall by Indiana and where the pressure came from and how they did it, and it was over and over and over again, it just did. Indiana's defense dominated the game in the sense of they gave the offense the ball. And then Mendoza gets the ball and he says, well, thanks, guys. We're just going to, move it. And to quote Hank Stram, we're going to matriculate the ball down the field and we're going to score.
Yeah.
And they just kept doing it and doing it.
Yeah.
Now, doing my homework on Indiana, there is something, I won't use the word magical. I wish I had a better term for it. But so maybe for Coach Cignetti, he has become the Pied Piper of college football.
Mm-hmm.
Hosea Wheeler, Kellen Wyatt, Louis Moore, and Devin Boykin all started on the defense for Indiana, and they're all transfers in.
Mm-hmm.
So there's young men in this country that want to go to Bloomington, Indiana, and play for this man.
Yeah, there sure are. Yeah.
Who could blame them? Now, offensively, he has he, meaning Mendoza, has two returning receivers to throw to, and they both had excellent games. But here comes this transfer in, and when you look at his numbers, which I'm sure they're in front of you,
Yeah, they are.
Jim, I mean, he just lit it up.
Yeah, junior quarterback transfer from Cal, Fernando Mendoza. You're talking about good old number 15.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 21 out of
Yeah.
23. 5 TDs, 267 yards passing, a completion percentage of 91%, and a passer rating of 260.6. I didn't know it could go that high, to be candid with you. I mean, I've never seen a stat line like it. And he was sacked, a couple of times, but big whoop. Whereas IU, to your earlier point, had 7 sacks of Luke Altmaier. And they're just abusing the guy and that offensive line. Yeah, they were sort of amorphous on defense. They may have lined up in a 3-3-5, but you didn't know where the action was coming from, the pressure was coming from, and it was relentless. It didn't matter what the score said; they weren't stopping, were they?
Well, that just tells you how motivated these youngsters are in Indiana. And of course, in a bit here, I'll head to the future for both these teams, and especially with the game coming up that I'm going to my marquee game for this coming weekend.
Okay.
But after last year, with the Hoosiers coming out of nowhere, there were questions raised.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is this an aberration? Is this guy really the Pied Piper that's going to lead Indiana to football superiority? I mean, we've never had that.
No.
And here they are. I mean, the first 3 opponents weren't real tough, but he's 4-0.
Yeah, he is. He's 4-0, and these kids are believing, and so is IU Nation, I think, right? I mean, how can you not?
Well, how can you not? Now, we have, in the NFL, of course, they play a 17-game schedule. Well, maybe the Big Ten should have gone that way. There's 18 teams in the Big Ten, so they each could have had a 17-game schedule and not played any out-of-conference games, and that way we'd know who the true champion is.
Uh-huh.
But we don't have that. So Indiana does not play Michigan or Ohio State, but they do play Oregon, and they do play Penn State, and those games are going to be a determining factor, which will take me to the game this coming Saturday night. I'm not going to leave the Big Ten. I'm going to stay there for another week, because how many times has Oregon gone to, Happy Valley to play Penn State? And these two teams are both very, very good. And for me, it's game of the week. Not that the SEC doesn't have a couple of dandy games, but I'm gonna stick with my roots in the Big Ten.
That's beautiful.
So, and
you go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no. Just to finish with Signetti, I mean, they're going to be looking at him, and the big question is, we all can ask, can he continue this? Well, my gosh, he's motivated. He's got kids that are playing really, really hard. They are talented. I mean, it's not like he's sending out inferior talent. They know how to play. They're motivated, and they know how to play, and they do their job. So the question is, how many games are they going to win? And are they going to return to the playoffs this year? And for anyone there, it's very, very exciting.
It is exciting. Yeah. You go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no, and Illinois plays SC this week. Okay, well, in the past, I'm sure they played at least a few times, but this is a chance for SC to show that they're legit and Illinois to get back on the winning track.
Yeah.
And, of course, we'll see how the Hoosiers go. But with how the schedule is in the Big Ten, it could my question, I'll pose it to you, Jim. Does any team go undefeated in the Big Ten this year?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about regular season, I'd say Indiana's got a pretty good shot. I haven't done the math on it, but I'd put it at about 79%. Those 2 games, one of which is on the road, are the only theoretical stumbling blocks until you get to the postseason, to the conference championship, and therein could be an issue, right? But if your question is, are they going to be a playoff team? I mean, heck, we're only concluding week 4, heading into week 5, so we got a long road ahead of us. But judging by their character last year and their character thus far this year, they're at Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City this weekend. That's no pushover, but we might see the same thing for all I know. Who knows? But we'll see. I mean, I'd say there's a better than 75% chance that the Hoosiers do that. But they had a crazy good game last week, and they are the Indiana Hoosiers, this week's Pop-Tarts crazy good team of the week for an absolute beatdown of the Illini. But let's turn the question back to you, TJ. Do you think we'll see an unbeaten team in the Big Ten this year?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say it could be this log jam at the top where they all have one loss.
Yeah.
It is going to be so hard for those teams after a big victory to maintain it and go and just keep doing it. Now, you mentioned where Indiana is this week. I mean, Kirk Ferentz is obviously a tremendous coach, and Iowa is going to be they practiced hard all week, so it will be a challenge for Indiana. But based on having seen both teams play, Indiana is the better team. Okay, well, you got to go out in the field and do it.
Yep. And to answer your question, the last time the Oregon Ducks played Penn State was actually last year, December 7th. And that was a victory for Oregon, 45-37 over Penn State. So, that's just the sixth time that this will be the sixth time that they've played in program history, and the third time in a regular season matchup. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a whiteout game at Beaver Stadium in Happy Valley. So we'll see how much of a factor that is. Everybody wearing white, and then we'll see what happens. But it's rare that in week 5 here we've got a pretty compelling matchup that may have an impact on who wins the Big Ten. What's your take on this game, TJ, as you see the Ducks traveling cross country with Coach Dan Lanning to take on the James Franklin coached Nittany Lions?
Well, Coach Franklin, rightly or wrongly, has been subjected to a lot written about his inability to win the big game. Okay, well, you got to win a lot of little games to get to the big game. And he could sure help himself with a home victory against a very, very fine Oregon team. I mean, when does Oregon not score points? And here they are. So I see it as a strong matchup. And as you stated, they've not played a whole lot historically, but now that they're both in the league and they played last year, at least they're aware and they have some film to look at. And now it comes down to preparation and who makes the plays.
Yeah. It's interesting because, looking at their schedule so far this year, Oregon crushed, intrastate rival Oregon State last week, 41-7. Oregon State's having a tough go of it so far this year. They opened up the season with a 59-13 victory over Montana State. Oregon beat Oregon, and then Oregon beat Oklahoma State the following week, 69-3, also in Eugene. Then they came here outside of Chicago to Evanston, Illinois, and put the hammer down on the Northwestern Wildcats, 34-14, and then played Oregon State last week. So they have 3 of their 4 games have been home. Not very compelling competition so far. No disrespect to the Wildcats of Northwestern, but clearly their biggest test. I mean, that's stating the obvious, but they have It's an interesting matchup, is it not, between these two? Not only the coaches, but from the guys in the field.
Well, the inevitable is going to be the old adage of immovable object and irresistible force. So obviously, the Penn State defense is saying, well, we need to become the immovable object here because Oregon can sure score points, but then you got to go out and do it. And having been down that road as a coach, there's times where it doesn't seem to matter how much you prepare your guys when the other team is just better. So Penn State is looking at Oregon. Are they really that good? Can we stop them?
Right.
And of course, the Oregon defense, they're okay. I mean, I'm not going to say they're not rock solid. They're okay. But what happens if they're behind in the game? Let's create a scenario here. You know, as someone fortunately who's worked in the movie industry, let's create a scenario.
Okay.
It's the fourth quarter, and Penn State has the lead and the ball and is driving. Can the Ducks, line up and stop them? They're on the road. Can they stop them, get the ball back, and then turn around and drive down the field to win the game? I mean, wouldn't that be a juicy scenario to be watching on Saturday night?
Sure would be.
I mean, man, I might be on my second Dr. Pepper and my second can of Smokehouse Almonds.
All right. Well, you do that, and I'll just take an old fashioned. All right, we'll do that. So,
Let's do that.
yeah, when I was just thinking about when they played last, which was, of course, as I already mentioned, December of last year in the Big Ten championship game. That was a barn burner of a game, 45-37, and it was a game that went back and forth in the first half, where Oregon had the lead going into halftime, but it was a seesaw affair in the first half, and then a very low scoring second half, where Oregon's D did begin to show up, and then Penn State got a late TD to pull it within 8 points, but 3:41 to go in the game. But they did seem to figure out the Nittany Lions in the second half, Oregon's D last year. Now, obviously, it's a different squad this year, but they did a decent job last year. They gave up a ton of yards. Both teams had a bunch of yards. Penn State had 518, and the Ducks 466 in that game last year. But when the chips were down, the Ducks showed some mettle. Last year. So we'll see how that plays out this year. But that is a great way to frame the game. That's awesome. Anything else on that game, TJ, or should we turn a corner to our sort of potpourri approach for you?
No, sir. That's the game for me. And again, not to slight the Southeast Conference, which has a couple of dandy games, but there's no doubt down the road I'm going to be journeying back down south to see some of these, and by that time, maybe those teams will have sorted each other out a little bit in the standings.
Yeah, there are some good games always down in the Southeast Conference. All right, awesome, man. So, what is on your mind? I always like to give you, in the final minutes we have left here, anything else that you'd like to talk about in the college realm or pro realm, or anything else, TJ, that's on your mind?
Well, since in my weekly column at the Pro Football Journal, I addressed last weekend, and I hope folks will go there.
Yeah, absolutely. ProFootballJournal.com. Yes.
I mean, my friend Eric Goska writes a brilliant column each week on the Green Bay Packers. Mm-hmm. And, of course, right now, they play Dallas this week, which is usually a compelling matchup. I'm not so sure it is this year. But after watching the games last week, turnovers and sacks were absolutely paramount for the teams that won. And if you read my article, you'll see that. And, of course, if you watch the games, I mean, the Steelers were fortunate in the sense that they made all the plays defensively that they needed to by taking the ball away from the Patriots, and it got them a victory.
Yeah.
And that was true in a couple other games. But where we are right now, and for those of you out there that watch the Ravens and the Lions, King Henry is obviously one of the greatest running backs of all time. And when he fumbled the ball and lost it, he was so upset with himself, how he threw his helmet on that little pipe they have on the bench and slung himself on the bench. He's just so angry with himself. Well, as I'm watching him, and I know his pride factor and how talented he is, they play Kansas City this week. The Ravens and the Chiefs play this week, and both teams have 1 victory and 2 losses. So when the smoke clears after their game, one of those 2 teams is going to have 3 losses. No one would have predicted that after 4 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
So there's some other good games, but again, how is it that both the college and already the pro level, we have some compelling games based on records and survival?
Yeah, we do, right? I mean, it's interesting because we have, it's such a short season, and each game has, it's like baseball right now. We've got 4 games to go in baseball, the regular season, and each game has outsized impact on the who's going to make it to the postseason or not. And so, same thing with college. I mean, with pro, right? It's only a 17-week season, and if you're looking at a losing record, especially after week 4 here, you're looking. It's your odds of making the postseason dwindle significantly. So, yeah, it's interesting. Last question for you: how did you think your beloved Chicago Bears did last week, getting their first victory for Coach Ben Johnson?
The creativity, as I watched the game, in getting receivers not open, but I mean dramatically wide open down the field. And Williams completed the long passes to him. It was the difference in the game.
Uh-huh.
And, of course, the defensive coordinator for Dallas is the former Bears head coach. And I'm not a fan. Most people that have read my column know that. There's something apparently dramatically wrong in the Dallas secondary. Either those kids don't know how to cover, or they don't understand what he wants with the shall we say, the porous zone defense Dallas is playing. And so watching the game as a Bear fan, I mean, it was, oh yeah, I'm loving this. So that was much needed for Ben Johnson to get his first win. But he had some creativity in the offense. And it sure isn't that Williams can't throw the ball deep and complete the ball. He's just not the most consistent quarterback. And the Bear defense actually took the ball away a couple of times and recorded a couple sacks.
Yeah.
So we'll see where the Bears go from here. But their schedule is, at this point, I mean, they go to play the Raiders this Sunday. Okay. You know, it sure looks like a winnable game. Well, Pete Carroll knows how to win a football game, and they're at home.
Yep.
So we'll find out.
Okay. Very much. Very well. I mean, very good. Thank you, TJ. Awesome being with you. Thank you so much. Yeah. And we'll catch up with you next week. So keep your eye out on the Happy Valley game where the Ducks and the Nittany Lions will lock horns. Do you care to step out and make a prediction in that game, TJ?
I'm going to go with the Ducks going into Happy Valley and coming away with a victory.
All right. All right. Well, let's go Ducks. All right, TJ. Thank you. We got to roll out of here. Really appreciate your time. Again, folks, check out, remember to enjoy the game with some Cheez-Its or some Pop-Tarts, our 2 beloved sponsors. Thank you, and we thank them, and we thank you all for joining us. TJ, take care. Be well. We'll see you next week. So long, everybody.